today I'm going to be showing you an opening that if you play this, I can guarantee you will be 2000 ELO by like next year. I used to have a big plateau at 1300 and I didn't know what was wrong, and I switched my openings to this, and in little over a year I skyrocketed up to 2000 ELO. So now I'm going to show you. It's called the Vienna, and we're going to start out with e4. They respond to e5, and now we play the move knight c3. There are two main responses. It's either developing this knight to f6 or this knight to c6. First we'll look at knight f6. And now we play the Vienna Gambit with f4. So first things first, let's look at what happens if they take. If they take, it's actually really bad, and Stockfish already gives us a pretty big advantage. It's because you can push e5. Now, there's two things black can do. Three things really. They can hang their knight by moving it to one of these squares, which are its only squares. They can retreat their knight, or they can pin this pawn. So I won't go into what happens if they hang their knight. First, we'll look at what happens if they retreat. They retreat, life's easy. First, you must remember this important knight f3 move, because you're trying to protect yourself from queen h4 check. So here's basically how play is going to continue. Knight c6, d4, d6, bishop takes f4, d takes e5, knight takes e5. Maybe they take, and now you're just going to pin the knight. You're going to take the knight, long castle, life will be perfect. Stockfish evaluates this as a big advantage for white straight out of the opening, and you should be really happy with the position you got. Now, they don't have to retreat. They can also pin the pawn, but this is actually really bad. They can pin the pawn like this, but in the end, they're gonna have to retreat because you can just go queen e2 unpinning the pawn. They're forced to retreat, otherwise they're obviously gonna lose their knight. And now here's a little trap here I'm gonna show you. You're gonna develop your knight to f3. You're gonna go like this, and now they play d6. Now, the problem with d6 is that you can immediately strike in with knight d5. They move their queen anywhere. If they move their queen here, that's just a fork. They move their queen to d7. You can take on d6. It's a discovered check. Their king's basically forced to move. Now you can take on c7, and this king has nowhere to go. This pawn's protected by the knight. So they have to give up their queen, and you're just completely winning. That's a nice little trap that happens after this queen e7 move. And now we'll look at the main line. This also happens after they play knight f6, but after f4 they don't take. They play the best move, d5. Now what you do after d5 is really simple. Remember to take on e5. Their knight's gonna take on e4. This is all the main line. You're gonna go to queen f3. They take your knight. Remember to take back with your b pawn, with the idea of pushing for d4. Now it's important not to push for d4 too quickly, because if they play something like c5, d4 is immediately stopped, because like this, and you immediately get hit with either bishop b4 check, or you can also get hit with queen h4 check, which is just horrible, because you're going to lose this d4 pawn. So make sure you don't do that, and instead, after c5, go bishop b5 check. They block with the knight, and now you're just going to develop your knight to e2. And what's going to happen after e2? Well, something's like this is going to happen. Bishop d7, you can take the knight, then get castled. Your long-term plans are, your queen and rook are just heading straight for this f7 square. You're going to play d4 now. You're going to get your dark squared bishop out. The nice b file is open for your rook, and honestly, life is really good. Now we're going to go to what happens if they play knight c6. If they play knight c6, it's really simple. Bishop c4, and now we're going to go into the copycat variation with bishop c5. You're going to go queen g4. You're heading for this g7 square. Now, first I'm going to take you through one of the moves, which is queen f6, and then I'm going to take you through the other move, g6. So first I go queen f6. Now, this looks like it's going to be dangerous, right? You look like you have to defend this f2 pawn. Nope, we're going to go knight d5. After they take f2, we're going to go to d1, and it's not checkmate, because the bishop guards f1. And now the c7 pawn is hanging, this is hanging, and there's even another secret trap. Say they go something like knight e7. Now you go knight h3. They go to queen d4, d3, and now c3 is going to trap the queen. The queen's going to be lost, and this is just completely winning for you. Now another thing they can do is basically play the main variation, which if anybody plays this against you, they're either cheating or a secret grandmaster. King f8, and I'm going to show you the theory here, and you don't have to remember this so you're going to go knight h3, and then this is just a wild line. Now we're going to look at what happens after this queen g4 move if they play g6 instead of the queen f6 move. Now you're going to go queen f3, because if you do something random like develop your knight, you get hit with d5, attacking your bishop and opening a discovery attack on your queen. Don't want to fall into that. I've done that many times, so make sure you play queen f3. Now they go knight f6 because you were just threatening checkmate just a moment ago. Now it's important to go knight e2 because, believe it or not, this knight d4 move is really scary. So let's say they get castled, you go d3, if they go knight d4 you take, bishop takes, and now bishop g5 here. And it's not so clear what black should do, you know, because, well, the knight's being attacked. If they go somewhere like this, well, now knight d5 comes in and they're gonna lose this knight because it's pinned to the queen. So I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, don't forget to like and subscribe, and I do hope that you played this opening, and, well, that's it for this video.